So there's this thing called, there was a list called Shitty Media Men, where these women would put men's name on a list that they would circulate if they didn't like them or they said they were some kind of sexual harasser.
Kudos to Jimmy Dore for mentioning a very important and very controversial issue here. Because this has become a pretty big thing now, this sort of whisper network semi-public shaming. The Facebook Are We Dating the Same Guy groups, they've got a bit of attention recently from men's rights people.
That's real scuzzy shit when you do something like that.
Especially when some of them had rumors of sexual misconduct, but a lot of them
didn't.
That's a big issue as well. It's not just the serious false allegations, but false allegations are a continuum. And at the more serious end, of course, you have the more serious accusations. But sometimes it's just insinuations like this, sort of accusations of being creepy or whatever. And those get blown up into something serious by the people who read them and hear them.
In October 2017, Moira Donegan posted the spreadsheet which allowed anonymous contributions to supplement existing whisper networks.
Yes.
So this is just nothing but a smear campaign. Anybody who's got a grudge against a guy in media could put their name on this list, smear them, and wreck their reputation.
And not only that, but Jimmy Dore will later cover part of this, which shows that the people who were contributing to this list weren't even meant to tell people it existed, or at least weren't meant to tell men that it existed. So people would be defamed, and then would never even know why it happened. They'd face consequences, and they'd never even know how that came to be.
They start talking about the whisper network, like it's this defense that women have used.
Women have always had. I never heard of it.
Of course, men aren't meant to hear about it. Like, that's sort of the point. Because it then allows these women to spread defamation with impunity. You know, they will never face any consequences because what they're doing is in secret.
Upon learning that BuzzFeed intended to publish an article about it, Donegan then took it down.
That's pretty incriminating, because if it was really warning people about actual dangers, then I'd expect it to stay up. I'd expect her to be proud of it, but instead it got taken down immediately. And that's a tactic to try and hide it, to try and limit any legal liability after this thing unexpectedly became public knowledge.
And so it would say, disclaimer, this document is only a collection of misconduct allegations and rumors. Rumors? Let's put together a document. I'm an editor at a large news publication. I'm going to put together a rumor document that smears men.
Yeah, that's basically how the mainstream media works, I suppose. Pretty low journalistic standards whenever it comes to anything that backs up their personal politics. And for the sort of people who put this list together, that means being generally anti-male.
What the fuck?
Well, you know, unless there was the cover of like, we're the best feminists ever, you know, like it wouldn't be able to be that the thing you're using rumors to run people out of jobs was real appealing to a lot of people.
And Kurt Metzger's got a good point there. This is really just a very convenient thing for feminists to do. Feminists who want to harass people and chase people out of jobs can just mention that they're feminists, can frame everything through a feminist lens, and suddenly gossip and harassment becomes this social justice crusade, becomes protecting women.
Title IX, Obama and Biden signed that Title IX. There were these famous cases of people like, there's no hearing or anything, the college just expels you because someone said something.
Yeah.
It's ironic that Title IX is meant to be an anti-discrimination law, and one of the main effects has been an overly harsh discipline applied to members of a minority group, which men very much are in university campuses. And harsh discipline not in exceptional punishments, but very much in removal of the presumption of innocence in cases where there is allegations of sexual misconduct. Although if you're familiar with Title IX for all over on Reddit, then there are certainly people out there who are trying to use this anti-discrimination legislation to help men, and especially to help men in university education.
You can edit anonymously by logging out of your Gmail. Please never name an accuser. And please never share this document with a man.
Some damning stuff there, making it easier intentionally to make anonymous and potentially false allegations, and trying to make sure that men aren't allowed to see it. And there are, of course, male victims out there, male victims of both male and female perpetrators, and indeed female victims of female perpetrators as well. So by excluding men from even knowing about this, you're certainly undermining the supposed intention of it, which is to draw attention to sexual predators in the media. But of course, that's not really the intention as far as I can tell.
So this guy did sue them, just so you know. And he won.
Well, that's good, certainly, and it is the creator of the list, by allowing these accusations to be made so anonymously and irresponsibly, who is responsible for all of this. But winning a case like this is never going to be common, because most of the time things like this aren't written down in a public Gmail document. Because whisper networks do exist. That's basically what those Facebook groups, those Are We Dating the Same Guy groups, are actually all about. And most people don't know that those even exist, and men are explicitly prevented from accessing them.
This guy's infraction was, he says, "Oh, sorry" a lot. That's what this says here. He says, "Oh, sorry" a lot, and then makes weird sounds.
So Jimmy Dore points out some of the sillier ones here. I'll play one more.
He constantly retweets Rachel Maddow, pretended not to know who Lady Gaga is.
Wow.
That was the misconduct.
We'll throw him in next to the rape.
And I feel like Kurt has got to the heart of the issue there, which is that this list has been presented as something that allows women to defend themselves and to know about men who pose a threat to them. And that it's a Me Too thing, that it's a sexual predation thing. And the problem is, it's really just part of a spectrum of false allegation. Someone's saying you're creepy, someone's saying you looked at them weird, and that's treated as being basically the same thing as a violent rape. Certainly as being on the same spectrum. Except it's not something that you can ever disprove, as in the way that you could potentially disprove a criminal accusation. So for someone on this list, all people are going to know is, oh, he was on that list of rapists and stuff. And even if he's just accused of not knowing who Lady Gaga is, that's still a real reputational harm. And I have no doubt that if this was called Shitty Women in Media or something like that, then it would have been taken down immediately by Google. But I am glad to see that he won his legal case. So I won't show Jimmy Dore reading out all of the stupid allegations here, but some of them are pretty creepy. Creepy as allegations to make, like criticising a man for the reasons he had for splitting up with his girlfriend. A lot of them are just ridiculous, like showing people memes. It's like that meme, ironically, where you have someone paying a woman a compliment and she says thanks, and then you have an ugly man paying a woman a compliment and she's on the phone to HR. Because none of these things are in any way wrong, but obviously if someone sees you doing these things and just doesn't like you, then they're going to attack you for it.
It says refuses to use Tinder because he thinks it's impersonal. He won't look at memes ever, even really funny ones. Likes fountain pens, total douche.
So I just include that one as an example of the double standards, the refusal to use Tinder being presented as a bad thing, when if anything, not wanting an impersonal relationship like that is something that would normally be regarded as a positive. And of course the memes. There was previously one that criticised a man for showing people memes, and now this one's criticising a man for not wanting people to show him memes. It's very much double standards.
A writer put on the Shitty Media Men list settled his defamation suit with the catalog's Creator Friday New Court Paper show. New Orleans-based writer Stephen Elliott was listed on the crowdsourced spreadsheet of sexual misconduct allegations against men working in the media.
And again, it's listed here as a list of men accused of sexual misconduct, but the reality is that very few of these accusations actually involve sexual misconduct, although they are all, by definition, allegations against men.
Critics of the list said it was made up of unproven allegations and was reckless. I mean, yes.
And just to give another example of this, there's the Everyone's Invited list in this country, which was explicitly set up by feminists who wanted to prove that British schools are hotbeds of sexual harassment, specifically against girls, of course. And the free publicity the BBC gave her for that got a lot of people to go to her website and make reports. We don't know how many of those were women, or girls, because she's the only one with access to that information. We do know that a lot of the reports were from all-girls schools, but that was always presented by her as being girls from schools who were then harassed by boys in the street, not at the school. But that was used as justification for a months-long witch hunt against boys in British schools, and continues to be used as justification for greater changes to legislation and to disciplinary policy, making things even worse for the already over-policed young boys. So this is not just a big issue for the individuals affected, but also for society as a whole.
But Donegan, a freelance journalist, defended herself, saying, "I only wanted to create a place for women."
And again, the reality is that there are also male victims, especially in places that are dominated by women. For example, the education system from the Everyone's Invited list, but also the media. And in this case, the women were in a position of dominance, and this list was created for them, but nothing was ever made available for men in the same situation.
To share their stories of harassment and assault without being needlessly discredited or judged. So I just wanted to create a place where women could share unsubstantiated stories of the most disgusting, discrediting sort of a man, and then distribute that to all the women in media. That's all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was just slander people in the worst, most unbelievable way, and then hide the people's names who were doing it. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to ruin the reputations of any man who you had a grudge against in media. That's all I wanted to do was wreck people without any fucking accountability. That's all I wanted to do was wreck people without being accountable. Is that so bad? Yes, Maura. That makes you a horrible human being.
I mean, Jimmy Dore's got a point here. I suppose I can see why people don't like him. People, that aren't on his side on various issues. But he's a fun watch when he's in the right.
She covers gender and politics at The Guardian. I'll bet she's great.
So when 300 feminist groups sign on to an obvious liar like Amber Heard, who's destructive, and a jury finds against her, and then those people still cling to that, now you're wrecking yourself.
So Jimmy Dore isn't a men's rights YouTuber. He's not someone who really focuses on these issues. He doesn't even mention them very much, certainly less than either Vaush or Breaking Points. But he's got much better positions on these issues than either of those. So this video, link in the description, is probably the best one I've seen from a mainstream online left source about men's issues, which is a bit of a pity, but credit where credit's due, I suppose.
You're the thing that we should be afraid of. You're the thing. And the fact that you're in journalism shows you why journalism is less respected than fucking politicians.